2024.
Hold it now.
You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
This is the Rob Carson Show. Hey, it's already Thursday. T-minus 1 day until Friday. Welcome to the show. Please come inside. We've got so much to get to. I literally been at the computer since about 5:30 this morning, digging up stuff. A perfectly honed radio program today. Tons and tons of stuff to get to. Jill Biden says that when she saw the debate, she thought her husband was having a stroke. And then right after the debate said, "You did a great job, Joe." So we'll get to that in a few minutes. And then also the Biden administration, or I should say Joe Biden, scrambling to keep the embarrassing secret tapes when he was doing his one of his books, one of his memoirs, which, I mean, honestly, his memoir couldn't be a coffee book. He doesn't remember anything. What Joe Biden's memoir is going to be a bunch of blank pages, for goodness sake. Anyway, it's kind of funny. The Trump appointees are pushing a $250 bill with his face on it. You know, this is great. I'm going to have to save up and get one of these. So, yeah, they're pressing the office responsible for printing the nation's money to design a $250 bill featuring the president's portrait, according to 4 current and former employees. 250 years? Why the hell not? I think it's a great idea, man. Although, you know, how many times do you have trouble just getting a 7-Eleven to break at 20? I mean, what are you going to pay with a $250 bill? You know, a $100 bill is bad enough. There's an ATM right near me. It only gives $50 bills. I'm like, what the heck? Nobody will break a $50 bill. I guess, you know, I would probably just frame it, you know, because it's a $250 bill for the 250th anniversary of America. So there, generally, though, federal law currently allows only deceased people to appear on bills. Oh, so I imagine Democrats would be like, "Oh, let's do that. Let's get them on the $250 bill," because, you know, they're such jerks. But anyway, there's the latest with regard to currency and the 250th anniversary of our country. Donald Trump was asked yesterday about the release of this audio. Now, Joe Biden has sued the Justice Department to block the release of audio recordings he made with his ghostwriter, material that investigators later used to question his mental competency. Here's the problem. Robert Hur used the audio to exonerate Joe Biden of any responsibility for taking classified documents. So I think that kind of means that we should have it. Here's the president being asked about this yesterday.
Why do you think that Joe Biden is trying to sue the Department of Justice, former President Joe Biden, to have his tapes that he did interviews on blocked from the American people hearing them? Do you think that he's trying to hide something? And maybe Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could comment on if they will
Yeah, I mean, honestly, somebody might discover that he's in a state of mental decline if we actually hear these tapes.
Sue and release those tapes to the American public.
Are you talking about it with respect to his book?
With respect to his
Well, I'd
memoirs.
like to see it. I don't know. Maybe there's some constitutional reason. I don't know. I would like to see what he has to say, because we can never allow what happened to this country to happen. The man was grossly incompetent.
Yeah, he was.
And the Democrats, I call them the Democrats because the policy is so bad, but they came very close to destroying our country. We can never let it happen again. And I hope that you're able to produce that. I think it would be a very interesting reading for people.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to use the Democrats, because I don't think they're dumb. I think they're conniving. I think Democrats is more proper. Really, I do. I think the Democrat is actually perfect when you consider what they did, opening the southern border, weaponizing the government, and then looting the treasury to the tune of trillions of dollars. We got some big news on all of the money that was going overseas. Communist China, Russia, stealing money from us. Puerto Rico. Yeah, taking millions of dollars in SNAP benefit purchases and reselling them in Puerto Rico. We got completely screwed over, bent over a barrel without a dinner protection or a lubricant. I swear, it's unbelievable. So Biden held private conversations with biographer Mark Zwanitzer in 2016 and 2017 at his home while writing his memoir, Promise Me, Dad. My God, who bought that? Which chronicled his decision to consider a presidential run as his eldest son, Beau, had brain cancer. And remember, Joe Biden said he was going to cure cancer. Did that happen? Did I hear that right? He said he was going to cure cancer. The roughly 70 hours of recordings, and my God, Mark Zwanitzer, how could you go through that, were later obtained by special counsel Robert Hur during his investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents. The probe determined that Biden read classified material out loud to Zwanitzer, but recommended against prosecution because Biden's declining memory would make it difficult to prove he had acted willfully. But, actually, no, because he actually said that he had classified documents.
Well, there's a couple things here, because back then he had not been president yet. Vice presidents are not allowed to declassify documents. And
there was that. He had classified documents, so you're not allowed to do that if you're the vice president.
In these tapes, the reason why Robert Hur grabbed them in the first place is he can be heard saying after leaving office, I just got the classified documents from downstairs, and then reading verbatim from them. So it puts his mindset of what he was thinking, what he was actually aware of, what he knew. He was completely aware of the whole thing in the investigator's eyes. And it shows where his mental decline was, or where he was actually savvy, where he was able to remember dates, where he was able to...
Wait, hold on. There was mental decline? Joe Biden had mental decline? Are you sure? Because I think he just had a stroke during the debate.
Or not mix up timelines.
Yeah.
And then, when President Trump declassified documents and took them to Mar-a-Lago and kept them under lock and key that the FBI told him to get.
Yeah, he had the right to do that.
President Biden was the first American president to say, I'm not extending executive privilege to you. You're going to be prosecuted for this. So now to cry wolf is pretty wild when prosecutors think this is worth looking at.
Absolutely. And here's the latest from John Solomon. The FBI, people in the FBI knew that they had no probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago.
Grace, I don't think so from the reporting I'm doing. Meanwhile, a lot of reaction to the story that we broke in the last 24 hours. President Trump himself reacted to it. Socialized the story. But we now have a second piece of evidence that the Justice Department under Joe Biden knew that its raid on Mar-a-Lago was bad. A couple months ago, we told you that the FBI had memos saying that they did not believe they had probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago, but they did it anyways. They went into the president's home looking for...
They planted evidence.
Allegedly classified documents. Well, a couple days after that raid, one of Merrick Garland's top advisors...
They had shoot-to-kill orders. They sent 40 agents. They sent all of the people at Mar-a-Lago outside, including his lawyer, Elena Haba, and told them to turn off all the security cameras while they rifled through every room, including Barron's and Mrs. Trump's.
Someone he personally brought in to make sure that they stayed ethical in their investigations of President Trump, wrote an email saying, I don't believe we had the right to go raid Mar-a-Lago. In fact, I've been worrying about it ever since I found out about it. Why? As she
But ICE is Gestapo, right?
Noted, and as we reported at the time back in 2022, she believed President Trump may have declassified the documents before he left office, and therefore had every right to possess those.
Yeah, that's why they did it. The only time in history, in presidential history, that they've raided the home of a president after he was elected. This after 5 political prosecutions, persecutions, 2 impeachments, 1 after he left office, and now 4 assassination attempts. I'm just kind of done with the Democrat Party. This is why I call them the Democrats. Because they're evil, evil, evil. Evil, evil, evil. Then there's Jill Biden. Jill Biden, there's nothing I detest more than a mousy, insincere human being, and Jill Biden is that. I know you can't say that about the former First Lady. Yeah, I can. She's a mousy, insecure, obnoxious. You hear her talk, you're just like, oh, I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. This voice, this Cece Padre, this woman. Now she's saying, and she expects us to believe this, that the night of the debate was the first time that she had ever seen Joe's mental decline, and she only saw it during the debate, and she thought it was a stroke. She said this on CBS this morning.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened. Because
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened. I mean, I wouldn't be horrified that my husband's having a stroke on live television. I'd be frightened.
I had never, ever seen Joe like that.
Oh, my God, you're high.
Before or since.
Oh, yeah, he recovered right after that stroke that he had on live television. She didn't, he's been fine after that.
Never.
Or since.
Yes, or
You've
since.
never seen him like
Never.
that.
Really? Because everybody else has seen it before, during, and after.
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Oh, my God in heaven. Mousy, insincere, awful. This is her right after the debate, by the way, cheering Joe Biden on like a toddler. Even Joe Biden's doctors aren't chanting 4 more years. 4 more years. Maybe 2 more years if he's lucky. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Oh, here she goes. Here's the voice. Warning.
I can't thank you all enough for staying and for being here and for all your support.
I'm driving a pin into my ear so I can't hear her.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every
Who's
question.
such a good boy? Who's such a good boy? Joe's such a good boy.
You knew all the facts.
You knew all the facts. Yeah, you are. Here you go. She actually gave him a little kibble, just like right in his mouth there, and like this, you know, and
And let me ask the crowd,
the
what
voice.
did Trump do? Why?
Yeah, there you go. The crowd had no idea what she was going to ask. She said, what did Trump do? They're like, what? A lie. Okay, sure. Oh, my God.
Yes. So, Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you.
I guess if you were kind of maybe frightened that your husband was having a stroke, you might want to call the EMT there. Just call the EMT since you think he's going to have a stroke instead of giving him a kibble and tell him he did a good job answering all the questions. Oh, I just hate insincere people who think we're stupid and think we're going to actually believe they're absolute nonsense. I'm just done with these Democrats telling us that the sky is green and we know that the sky is blue. I'm just so done with this nonsense. Here we are 2 years later after this fool was removed from the Oval Office on vacation 40% of the time, 65% of the time, after he was replaced by the dumbest candidate in the history of the universe, Kamala Harris, and now she expects us to say, oh yeah, it was just during the debate. He had a stroke, but then he was fine. I mean, my Lord. I don't have any patience for it anymore. All I have right now is derision, ridicule, and mockery. That's what I'm going to do. How's that sound? Somebody just said I should play Billy Squires' Stroke. Hey, Brian, have that ready for the bump back into the next break. All right, let's take a break, ladies and gentlemen. This, my friends, is a Thursday edition of the Rob Carson Show.
listen to us.
Listen for the news on Talk
Here we
Radio
go.
680 WCBM.
Everybody, have you heard? If you're in the game, then the stroke's the word. Don't take no rhythm.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified, I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since.
Yeah, she thought he was having a stroke. Billy Squire, thank you very much. Stroke is the word, yes. Yeah, Jill Biden had never seen him like that before, had never seen him like since that, even when he was in France, shaking hands with invisible parachute men. She had no friggin' clue until this very moment that she had never seen anything like this, even though you and I saw it every single day for the entire presidency and during the campaign.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with.
This is why I use the expression, because I'm not stupid. Because I get so damned bloody friggin' tired of people telling conservatives that the sky is green, that if you wear a stupid mask, it's going to stop you from getting COVID. If you stand 6 feet away from somebody versus 4 feet, you're going to live. I mean, honestly. So, the border is closed. Shut up. You know why I knew it wasn't closed? Because I'm not stupid. And you know why I know Joe Biden has dementia? Because I'm not stupid. But Jill Biden is back on television saying, he was having a stroke during the debate, and then all of a sudden it was great. He was just healed. It's like, honey, I don't know what just happened. I mean, I guess I had a stroke or something. No, it's okay. Let it go. No big deal. No big deal. Let's move on with the campaign. And then, of course, he was removed from the campaign. And somebody who was, as mentally, I guess, incapable of a thought, took over as his replacement. So there you go. Here is Abby Phillips now versus Abby Phillips then. You may recall that the entirety of the news media made us feel like we were stupid, even though we knew that the guy had some serious dementia.
The autopsy that the Democrats didn't delve into that, and
here she is now saying, "Well, why didn't the autopsy of the election of 2024 talk about Joe Biden's broken brain?"
Should. Yeah. What kind of political system covers that up and makes it okay to lie to people about what everybody knows is true? The November choice,
and this is the 2024,
is between two old men. We know that. But tonight I want to talk about the Joe Biden that Republicans want you to see and the pipeline of videos that aren't telling the full truth. Yeah. Now, those videos are probably right now clogging the public consciousness as Americans start to think about their votes. And this is going to be really tough and tricky for voters to sort through because some of these videos, if you're a regular person, you probably cannot even do the digging that would be required to sort through what is being.
That's Abby Phillips there on CNN. She's a dimwit. Here's a little montage of Joe Biden back in the day.
I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams.
No, you didn't.
By a neurologist.
Oh, I think he has had another stroke there.
In each case, as recent as February. And they say I'm in good shape.
I don't think that there is a huge cover-up underway here, and I frankly don't think that matters.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we're not stupid. Here's Biden. They call this Biden's dementia presser. It happened, I think, right after the debate.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need
no, you didn't.
His recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's
your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory has not gotten.
He had the longest stroke in the entire world. He must have had about a 6-year stroke. Unbelievable. And the truth is, he wasn't the president.
I don't think Biden knows what's happening, to be honest with you. I think that Obama is calling these shots.
Joe's got strings, no he's not free. In my control he will always be. I call the shots and I tell Joe which way he should go. I pull the strings on Joe
Yeah.
and tell him what he has to do.
Yeah, you do. You did.
He cannot act alone. Don't trust Joe, would you? We put Joe in because we knew he'd do anything we told him to.
They did.
I've been in charge from the first day. I tell Joe what to say.
Jim Gossett did this.
Can't let dementia Joe do an independent thing. Cause as I'm sure you know, he's a puppet on a string.
Big finale.
Like Valerie and like Michelle, we all know that Joe's not well. One day we're going to end all doubt and push Joe Biden out.
And they did. Yeah, we did that a couple of years ago. Me and Jim Gossett did that. And they pushed him out right after the debate, and it was obvious that it wasn't a stroke. Because if it was actually a stroke, Joe Biden, the entire world would have known it was a stroke. He would have gone to Walter Reed. It would have treated him for a stroke. Dear God, woman, you're such a mousy, awful, annoying, putrid human being. Honestly, I don't even think your grandchildren like to hear you talk to them. God, she's going to sing another lullaby. Here she goes. Good night, good night, good night. You are my sunshine. Oh, God, I can't take it. For the first time since World War II, our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. This is because of all the fraud and everything. They're saying that if we got rid of the fraud, we could balance the budget. But that hasn't helped us, has it? No, we got screwed. We paid for all the fraud, and now we're paying higher inflation, higher prices, higher cost of living expenses and everything. And the dollar's worth D word for Richard. So what do? You invest in gold? Yeah, you invest in gold because the government can't ruin the price of gold. The government can't print gold. So maybe you should consider having some gold so the government won't screw with you. Text my name, Rob, to the number 989898 for Birch Gold. They will send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. You don't pull the ripcord on your parachute once you've hit the ground. Unless you're Joe Biden, he would have no idea. Text Rob to 989898. Again, Rob to 989898. Own some gold from Birch Gold, will ya? I think you should, because I've got money with Birch Gold, for crying out loud. They got it's not a lot of money. I mean, a couple of Donald Trump's $250 bills worth, but it's my money. It's worth Birch Gold. All right, so Michael Charbon from Canada joins us. He's the host of the Charbon Report. We got a bevy of things to talk about on the other side of the break. This is the Rob Carson Show. Hey guys, it's Carson for Ghost Bed. I am sleeping better than I've ever slept in my entire life. I used to think a mattress was just furniture, but I got a Ghost Bed. Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment. Beds designed for relief and recovery, not looks. Your body should be healing while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. I noticed immediately. My first night on a Ghost Bed, I slept for 10 hours. If you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning, sleeping hot, even reaching for a pain reliever before bed, hoping tonight will be different, that's not aging. That's your mattress talking. Here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't like the difference, just send it back risk-free. Ghost Bed is currently having their Memorial Day sale plus an extra 10% off for my audience. Go to ghostbed.com/Carson and use promo code Carson. Ghostbed.com/Carson. Promo code Carson for the sleep of a lifetime.
CBM.
Give you a countdown?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, beauty, go. Take off to the great white north. Take off.
It's a beauty way to go.
Take off to the great white north.
I don't know if you knew this, but Rush now has a new drummer. She's a female replacing Neil Peart. I hear she's got to be good because Neil Peart was the dude. So I'll just throw that in there because that, of course, was Geddy Lee singing Great White North from Bob and Doug way back in like 1983. And that is, of course, the official theme song now officially of Michael Charbon, the host of the Charbon Report and a regular benchmark on this show Thursdays at 12:35 Eastern Standard Time. Michael Charbon, how are you?
Rob, it's an honor to meet you and your nationally syndicated radio listeners and, of course, streaming live on Newsmax. You're doing a great show.
Yeah.
You're doing a great show. I just hope that, when you're going through this thing talking about Biden, that you don't have a little mini Carson stroke.
I swear. Can you believe? You know what's really, honestly, Michael, I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of being spoken to like I'm a toddler. That Jill Biden, after all that we've seen, all we've been through, after the book by frickin' Jake Tapper, after late night television, when late night television starts making fun of your mental acuity, then it's official, all right? And she said, oh, no, it was just during the debate. She had never seen it before and never seen it after. Felt she was having a stroke during the debate, yet after the debate, said, good job, Joe, you answer all the questions. I mean, does she think we're stupid, Michael?
No. We all believe she's a doctor, Rob.
Oh, yes, she is you're right. You know what? You just shot me down, dude. I totally forgot she was a doctor.
Right, and don't forget she's coming out with a book.
Oh.
So she's a doctor, she's an author, she's a guiding light of an old man.
Oh, my Lord. She's an obnoxious, mousy, God almighty. So let's talk. You got a lot of stuff going on.
No, I got to disagree with you there. I think she's a very attractive woman for her age. I think she was put in a situation that she had to do what she had to do.
No.
And it's kind of hard to say that your husband, who was the president of the United States, is feeble and is old.
I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt. No, not going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Sorry, I'm done with it. She's lied about a lot of crap. Don't even care. I don't care if you have the hots for her in kind of a weird way, Michael. Whatever. Maybe Canadians like hot 70-something women. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't care. It's cold up there. But let's talk about other stuff.
Wow, that was a big slam. I'll have to hold on to that little chestnut.
So, tag switching. Canadian air travelers are being charged with drug possession because drug smugglers are putting their tags on their luggage.
So listen to this.
Yes.
17 people who left Toronto Pearson Airport all of a sudden arrive at their destination, some in France, some in Germany, some in other places, and all of a sudden 4 big guys come up to you and put bracelets on you and say, all right, you're caught. And these are innocent people who are going, what happened was there are baggage handlers from the company that has the contract for baggage handling in Toronto International Airport, and they switched the bags and put your tags that were on your bags on a suitcase with like 144 pounds of pot.
Wow. So
they caught these guys on surveillance camera.
Oh, good.
And because can you imagine? I mean, you land in France, and they say, "Oh, these Canadians are trying to smuggle in the marijuana."
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, it's some 80-year-old grandma who's coming to see her cousin. She's gone, and they can see that there's nothing inside, and her actual luggage. So. Here is the point to remind everybody who is going to travel. Number one, you can put AirPods in your suitcase.
That's true.
You can track them. Number one. Number two, take a photograph of your baggage with the baggage tag before you put it onto the conveyor belt.
Gotcha.
Because that basically says, here's what it looks like and here's what it is. But
and also, if you actually have some weed in your luggage, just tell them that the tags were switched. That's the most important lesson we could take from this. Dude, I don't even know.
No,
Somebody must have totally switched my bag, dude. Somebody must have totally, just changed the tag.
All I had was a couple of gummies and a vape in there. I don't get it.
I thought those were just regular gummies. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is weed such a big deal up there in Canada? Because you know what? I go into the parking garage of my apartment complex at 7 a.m. I'm like, how in the heck? Because it sounds like, it smells like somebody run over a skunk. And it ain't a skunk, obviously. It's skunk weed, which smells a lot like a skunk. And I'm like, how bad do you need your weed if you're smoking it at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well, I think the one thing was one of the reasons that Justin Trudeau, Katy Perry's boyfriend, was elected was because he wanted to legalize marijuana.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent the holiday is over. I mean, I've been in New York, and everywhere you go, everybody's smoking pot.
I know.
There's not as many people walking around the city streets smoking pot in Canada. I mean, in certain communities that does happen, but I'm going to say I think it's more. I just want to say it's treated more like alcohol now. I mean, if you're at a gathering or so, but it's not as flagrant all over the place.
Yeah,
but,
it's died down a little bit.
The problem is, Rob, is we don't know what the long distance effects of this is going to happen, and those things are going to come out in the next 10 years, and I think we're going to be shocked, Rob.
Yeah, the short-term memory I hear. Who's this on the phone, by the way? Who am I talking to?
Who? What?
And there's a guy in my apartment complex I drive by, and it always smells like weed. And when it doesn't smell like weed, there's an Uber Eats car right out in front of his apartment, so I know exactly what he's doing. I'm like, here's the Papa John's. Here's what. Okay, he's smoking weed again. Let's talk about Canada's $44 billion submarine budget. So they have $44 billion they want to spend on submarines, and they're going to farm out the work to a contract like maybe the United States or another country?
Rob, we've got a South Korean submarine parked in Vancouver Harbor, Victoria Harbor, I should say, to be specific.
Yeah.
Because the South Koreans want to sell Canada submarines, and Canada's got a budget of $44 billion.
Gotcha.
Now, can you explain to me why you would go? First of all, these submarines, right? They're a lithium electric battery, diesel hybrid. They're a fuel cell.
What year is this, for God's sake? They make them nuclear now.
Well, that's where you talk about the Virginia-class of submarine or the Columbia-class of submarine.
Yes.
And guess who manufactures those?
USA.
The United States.
Yeah.
Now, why? Someone gave me a head shake. If you were in the midst of negotiating with your closest partner, the most advanced military in the world, and someone who is on a $5,000-mile undefended border, the longest in history, why would you think of going to South Korea to buy your submarine?
Well, I think I know what it is, because it's Hyundai, and they come with a lifetime powertrain warranty.
Yeah, no, I think this is a real serious and a stupid move. And if you want to segue to the jets,
yes,
I mean, we're talking about Saab Gripen jets instead of the F-35. Now, I understand Canada wants to distance itself from its 85% dominance on the American market, but this military thing is stupid.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
100%. Listen, we've got to take a break and come back. We've got much more to talk to Michael Charbonne, if I can remember, because, all the weed in the air and the secondhand smoke that I get in the parking garage. We'll continue this conversation on the other side of the break. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Show, 9 to noon on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
It is the Rob Carson Show. Joining us on the Newsmax hotline, Michael Charbonne, the host of the Charbonne Report. By the way, Michael A. Charbonne on X. So you want to talk about this, the tick bites that resulted in meat allergies. I've heard about this. What is your theory on this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of suspicious information that Bill Gates has been doing lots of research and investigation in developing synthetic meat. Laboratory meat. And there was also some investigation and some research done on ticks because Lyme disease is a kind of like a very quiet, horrible disease that kind of creeps up on you.
Yeah.
And there are some Texas farmers who have said, they get bitten by ticks all the time. But they saw these one particular breed of ticks that had a white dot on the back of them, and they're calling them the Texas Lone Star ticks.
Yeah.
And they said, now these are beef farmers that said after they've been bitten by these guys, they are allergic to meat and they feel sick when they eat meat.
Wow.
Now, I don't, and then there's on Joe Rogan, they were talking about how some farmers saw boxes of ticks that were released on their farms surreptitiously. There's lots of questions about this, but sometimes, Rob, and you're one that I would say follows this. Where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire.
Yeah.
Why is it that we aren't delving more into that? Ticks and Lyme disease is something that can affect someone for years.
And by the way, the left is always considered beef to be bourgeois. They do. They call it bourgeois, and then they say that cow farts are going to destroy the planet. They don't want us to eat beef. It's very clear with James Tallarico, by the way. Very clear they don't want us to eat beef. And they also want to create a new vaccine that everybody's going to have to take.
Well, the price of food now, beef, is still relatively expensive. So the overall consumption of beef has gone down. More people are integrating more vegetables and legumes in their diet. But far and few between is still the connection there where you see Bill Gates investigating tick research, doing fake meat, and some Lone Star. I think there has to be some type of level of investigation.
I don't trust Bill Gates as far as I can throw him, as my dad would say. Let's move on to Swedish biohacks at Walletmore. This is one of those things like at Whole Foods, they had this thing where you could scan your palm and buy your groceries, and they got rid of that because it was too bloody creepy. It was just too weird. What's this?
So this is something which is the size of a piece of rice, and they put it on the top part of your hand between your thumb and your index finger in that fatty area there. And the problem is that you can scan your hand. So it's kind of like, how you can tap. It's like tapping with your hand.
No.
And I think this is so scary because we already have a problem where you can track people where on your phone. They can see where you are, what you're doing. I think this is dangerous because it is basically doing the same thing that you would do. You do it to your dog. You put a chip in your dog.
Yeah.
Your dog. But this has got your credit card information. This has got your information. So what?
Somebody cut your hand off. So you just cut your hand off.
Well, yeah, that number one, you're absolutely correct. And secondarily, if you rob someone, all you've got to do is to be able to manhandle their hand over something, and then you could do a transaction. I think this is terrible. But these are two independent companies who are in market now. Like, this isn't the future. This is it's happening now.
I'm not going to do that crap. Not going to do it. By the way, they do that hand palm print thing at in Amazon grocery stores, and it wasn't working with teenage boys because there's no print there. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the Texas. There's no print on this one. There's no print on this. There's calluses on the other. Okay, let's talk about the Texas primary, Sharia law and whatnot.
So there is, we have a problem in North America, and we're seeing it in a very advanced form in the UK,
I know.
where Sharia law and radical Muslims are trying to take over what we consider as our moral code, our way of life.
Yeah.
Now, there's no disrespect to the Muslim religion. I have many people who are the wonderfulest, most embracing people, but those who wish to push Sharia law, having audio calls 3 times a day with megaphones calling people to prayer. And many of these, now they're starting to say that, well, you can't have a ham sandwich in school because it's an offense
Bull
to them.
crap.
There has to be a scenario where North Americans are saying we are a Judeo-Christian society by which we embrace other religions, but we are not going to change our core values in what we do.
Oh, I think it's already happening. Michael, that's already happening.
Germany, they were starting to tell them that they couldn't eat sausage.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. And I think we've reached a breaking point on all of this nonsense 25 years after 9/11. I think we've had enough. We were tolerant. We were never intolerant after 9/11, by the way. George Bush assumed the worst of us. He assumed that we were going to burn mosques and all that. We never did, but we allowed people to come in who like to burn synagogues. That's the problem. So I think we've reached a breaking point as far as Sharia law and this move toward Sharia. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah, but look what's happening in the UK.
I know. Well, they're the UK.
It's a serious problem in the UK.
I know it is. But did you see what happened with what's his name, Starmer, getting his rear end handed to him? I think that patriotic English are sick and damn tired of it, and I think we're in the midst of a major upheaval around the world and a return to Christianity, Judeo-Christian ethics and whatnot. I believe that. I do.
I agree. Well, there's a whole bunch of a movement that's happening in Germany and in Sweden and in Norway, where they're starting to talk about the same kind of illegal immigrant criminal entities that are killing and raping, and now they're saying, here, let's talk about this and let's make it into the general media form, because they were suppressed before, but now I think you're right. I think there is a movement to kind of say enough is enough.
I'm tired of hearing this. You're Islamophobic, and the same way when you can't criticize Somalians coming from the meth lab trailer park of the world, Somalia, a hellhole, and all of that, and you can't talk about the fraud because you're a racist. Shut up. I've had enough. I'm intolerant of tolerance. We got to go. Michael Charbon, tell everybody where they can find your glorious work.
Every week on Sunday, I'm on Newsmax on the John Glasgow Show just before, around 12 o'clock. Also, michaelacharbon.com and the Charbon Report on YouTube.
All right, brother.
Rob. Appreciate you always, brother.
God bless you. Have a glorious weekend. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show. He's always fun. Hello, kids. Save Act will ensure no voter fraud. Yeah, we're working on it. Oh, I got a news flash here I need to share. I'm constantly doing show prep, in case you didn't know. And so I need to... I don't know. Hold on. I got to grab something real quick here. All right, hold on. I got to grab a soundbite from, I think, John Solomon here. Jim Gossett, Tony Rico. Come on. I'll have to get that in a second. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Who we got here? We've got Habalone. What's going on? We got Robinson. What is that? Glad it one nation under God, 100%. Yep. Dookie Bear, hello. Good to see you guys. Yeah, just bomb Iran. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to bomb the snot out of them. We're gonna kill every one of those IRCG types, because it's just a little bit ridiculous. In fact, it's a lot ridiculous, and I don't have any more patience. I don't. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. What's going on? What the? Hi, you guys on Twitter. Glad to have you watching today. I appreciate you very much. I'm going up to Rehoboth this weekend. I can't wait. Let's do good news next. I'm going to do the happy jingle. How's that sound? I know you guys like that. Anyway. Oh, by the way, we got all Newsmax podcasts are up across the board. Make sure to check out all of the Newsmax podcasts on, if you go to Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or X, Max Podcast. There's always room for Zeppelin. So one of the favorite jingles on the show is our winning jingle, and I think I'm going to play the winning jingle right now.
We love to win. Winning, winning, so much winning. It's lots of winning, 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 lots of winning. It's oh so good.
I just saw online they have the little area in front of Union Station here in D.C. all cleaned up and beautiful. They had a homeless encampment across the street there when I first moved here, and then Donald Trump came up and cleaned up the entire dang city, which is amazing. It is amazing, and they're getting ready to fill up the reflecting pool. It's going to be awesome. The Democrats are shrinking back into hell because they made it into such an awful place. Here is a Washington, D.C. woman talking, and I played this a little while ago. There is a fountain and a park named after Malcolm X that's been closed down for 10 years, and now it's a wonderful place to go. We're going to hear from this woman down checking out this glorious park, and then the Prezi.
I've lived near Meridian Hill Park in D.C. for almost 2 years now.
Meridian Hill Park.
And the water's never been in the pond there. This has never happened before.
I know.
I was always too afraid to come here because of the homeless people, but they're all gone.
Yeah.
And it seriously looks like Paris.
Yeah,
I mean, I've never seen this many people out here. Trump said he was going to clean out D.C., and he did. It is clean, it's calm, it's quiet.
It's actually exciting. I want to run over there today if I can. You know, I always have a problem. Secret Service isn't in love with my walking along, checking the sidewalk, the new sidewalk, to see whether or not they pointed it correctly. We did 28 or 29 fountains. I made a contribution to redoing Lafayette Park. That's the entrance to the White House, and it was an embarrassment.
You're right. That's in front of the White House. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. You've got to come to Washington, D.C. Yet here's a reporter saying that despite the fact that Donald Trump is beautifying Washington, D.C., has cut crime dramatically because of the National Guard, that D.C. residents don't want the National Guard.
Polls show that a majority of D.C. residents don't support the Guard here. So what's your message?
Really? Which polls? Which polls?
To the majority of D.C. residents.
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about.
Now, here's a little montage of people who live in Democrat cities, including Seattle, by the way.
It's terrifying to live here, and it's even more terrifying that the city is absolutely doing nothing to protect the citizens in this neighborhood.
We're just afraid that that a neighbor's going to have to die before the city will do something.
We don't have to live in darkness anymore. Some amazing things are happening across the country. The Democrat Party is doing the death spiral I told you about. James Tallarico is not going to get elected, and neither is Graham Plattner. Details on all of that coming up after the top of the hour on the Rob Carson Show. Don't go anywhere.
WCBM.com.
Marco Rubio's
Vote on
birthday.
WCBM's latest poll. It's fun, it's fast, and let us know what you want more of on WCBM.com.
Hold it now. You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
And finally, he's a threat to our very way of life and our values. I mean, he's a vegan who thinks God is non-binary and that there's actually 6 biological sexes. It's hard to imagine someone more radical than that.
Yeah, he's talking about James Talarico, who's going to be up against Ken Paxton for the Senate seat in Texas, one of the Senate seats in Texas, up in November. And the Democrat Party is a ship without a rudder. That they would bed down with this nutbag, that they would wow, that sounded weird. Because, Graham Plattner likes to bust one in a porta potty. That said, the Democrat Party is unhinged, without a rudder, without a platform. Yeah, and I've been talking about this the last few weeks, in case you hadn't noticed, about how the Democrat Party is not had to have a platform for a very long time, and it's because they've been able to gerrymander districts and all of this. And I was watching Stephen Turley. You ever watch Stephen Turley? Stephen Turley is a pretty remarkable dude, and I check out his YouTubage in the evening. Sometimes I'm just hanging out. I watch YouTube, TV, see my Newsmax shows, and then afterwards I watch just YouTube, and I watch Victor Davis Hanson or Stephen Turley, and he's talking about the racial gerrymandering of the Democrat Party and how it has allowed them not to have to serve their the people they're representing. I want you to listen to Stephen Turley.
Talk about the numbers because they're Let's talk about the numbers because they're breathtaking.
Yeah.
Ballotpedia, using data straight from the U.S. Census Bureau's 2024 American Community Survey, identified 148 House districts
that will be affected by the racial gerrymandering decision of the Supreme Court.
Were drawn explicitly with race as a predominant factor under the old Section 2 standard. 148. If you want to do some quick math, that's a full 1/3 of the entire House of Representatives. And of those 148 districts, 122 are currently held by Democrats. 122 seats. That's more than half of the Democrats' entire 212-seat House caucus sitting on maps that Calais just declared legally suspect. More than half their entire caucus.
And why do you suppose the Democrat Party is saying insane crap like this?
I have to just tell the truth. There are people in this hostile anti-black administration that would rather black Americans pick cotton than pick the president, than pick their congressperson, than pick a senator.
Because they have kept black people under their control since the Civil War, and particularly since LBJ. And that house of cards is finally crumbling. This is why, and I told you, the Democrat Party, 90% of Democrats in good standing want voter ID, but the people on Capitol Hill who are Democrats do not. 95% of Democrats, maybe even more, don't want boys pretending to be girls competing with girls, but 100% of Democrats on Capitol Hill do. They don't represent their constituents because they take elections, they steal elections, and they use fear to keep some demographics on the Democrat plantation. By the way, this also includes women. Voter ID. They decided that women were too dumb to get an ID and couldn't survive without a man. So if you get a divorce, you'd never be able to vote again because, you can't do it without a man. That's your Democrat Party. That's why they use so much bloody fear. Here is Ro Khanna the other day talking about the decision by the Supreme Court. Honestly, this is so bloody unhinged. If you were dropped on the planet from 20 years ago and listened to this Democrat Party, you'd go, these people are insane.
Kristen, first we need to talk more about this Supreme Court decision. This is a Dred Scott court.
They have engaged in the fastest rollback of black political rights since Rutherford Hayes ended Reconstruction in 1877. 1/3.
It's absolutely ridiculous and obscene and absurd. It's as absurd as calling Donald Trump and us white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call, white mega fascist, all that, and you repeat that enough, then the people you're trying to scare will look at you as the enemy and them as the savior, as the white savior, as it were. Here is Jonathan Turley.
Built on a foundation of race-based cartography that the Supreme Court has now, in a 6-3 decision, condemned, and then, as of yesterday, fully confirmed. Now think about what that means.
Listen.
The Democrat Party didn't build its House coalition primarily on policy. It didn't build it on persuasion.
No.
It built it on racially engineered geography. For 40 years, Democrat-friendly courts and the weaponized Voting Rights Act gave them what they thought to be a permanent, judicially guaranteed structural advantage.
Yeah.
They could pack black and brown voters into carefully drawn districts, guarantee safe seats, and build a House majority that was essentially immune to normal political competition.
What have I been saying? What have I been saying for the last couple of months? That the Democrat Party does not have a platform. It's only, I hate Trump, Trump's a white supremacist, Trump's a fascist, Trump is Hitler, which is all absurd. Absolutely absurd and inflammatory and completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And I'm bloody damn tired of it. Absolutely tired of this nonsense, to be quite honest. And then in places like Texas, the Democrats still haven't learned a lesson. So they've got James Tallarico, who is completely out of his mind. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of James Tallarico and his insanity. And he's not going to get elected in Texas. This is not going away. They're trying to save him. They're trying to. Oh, what did you mean by there are 6 genders? Well, I only believe there are man and woman. But whatever. Honestly, please. Or God is non-binary. He's trying to explain away that. He's supposed to be a man of God on the pulpit saying things like God is non-binary. Who would say these kind of things on the pulpit? Where would he be getting his talking points? From down below. Where would someone say these things, that abortion is in the Bible, hinting that killing babies in the womb is fine? Where would he be getting his talking points? And I'm not talking from a party. I'm talking about a being and an entity. The man is mentally unhinged, and I think he's a devious, awful human being. Here he is. Listen to this. What sort of a pastor of Christianity says this?
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too.
Our trans community needs abortion care too. Who in the hell in good standing as a pastor says something so ridiculous? How about this? Here's this supposed Christian pastor in good standing calling out, giving people vouchers to go to private schools that don't suck like public schools, and calling it white Christian nationalism.
Part of this Christian nationalist movement is trying to pass these things called private school vouchers. And if you're not an education policy person...
It's not about white Christian nationalism, you butthead. It's that the Department of Education, since its inception and trillions of dollars spent, has caused the grade scores on all the test scores for our kids to descend massively, particularly in America's inner cities, where kids are graduating from high school not being able to read.
You may have never heard of this, but essentially it's an effort to take tax dollars out of our public schools, which are underfunded as they are. Texas is 43rd.
They are not underfunded. The money is being wasted
in the nation in per student education funding. So it's taking dollars out of the classroom and giving it to unaccountable private schools, usually.
Now, who does it usually impact when you take kids out of crappy public schools? Gerrymandered black districts.
Christian private schools.
That vote Democrats.
Again, part of this effort to blur the lines between church and state. And the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, made this his top.
This is, I'm sorry, if you wear the badge of some sort of a Christian pastor and you say these things, you ain't representing the man upstairs. You're representing the being downstairs. I swear to God. There's this guy, Steve Toth. He unseated Dan Crenshaw, and he was talking to Benny Johnson about this guy. And you think that Texas, in Texas, the Democrats maybe aren't as insane. Listen to this guy.
People think that because it's Texas that our Democrats must be more kind and more Southern gentlemanly and more moderate and more conservative than New York Democrats. It's nothing could be further from the truth. To give you an idea, a woman that sat on the House floor in front of me, her name was Sean Theory. She was the one lone sane Democrat in the state of Texas, and Sean voted with me against the genital mutilation of children.
Yeah.
And James Tellerico and
he's a Christian pastor that believes that children can be given puberty blockers. Okay, that's against the will of God. Your body is programmed for that. Then to be mutilated, to be made eunuchs who cannot be fruitful and multiply for their entire lives. Children. A man of God does not support that.
Democrats in Austin teamed up against her. They spent $1.5 million to remove Sean and to get her replaced by a pro-LGBTQ transgender loving person that actually has transgender staff members in her office. These are biological males that use the ladies' restrooms.
Wow. Here's a little more Steve Toth, because this is James Tallarico's number one issue.
That is James Tallarico. This is like his number one issue.
Yeah.
And Benny, before he decided he wanted to be in the Senate, he was this nasty, caustic, angry, weird man that from the back or front mic said some of the most egregious and ridiculous things. When Ted Cruz went up against Colin Allred, Ted at this point was 8 points behind in the polls. 8 points behind. We waited. We got closer to the election until about 2 weeks before early voting. We released Colin Allred's voting record that he had voted to allow biological males into girls' sports. Yeah. And Colin Allred went from winning by 8 to losing by 8. Yeah. When people find out that James Tellerico wants to allow biological males into our daughters' restrooms and showers, this is what he has voted for. I mean, no one took me to task more when I passed legislation banning critical race theory in the state of Texas. No one took me to task more from the back microphone than James Tellerico did. He is an absolute fruitcake.
He is, and he's also everything we rejected in 2024, and they're repackaging it, and they're going to try and cover it up and sell it again.
Do your homework so that you can understand who this guy truly is. He is a dark person. I've said to friends of mine long before he decided to run for the Senate, I said, this is one of the darkest souls of anybody that I have ever met. He's a pastor. I'm a recovering Baptist pastor. And this guy is one of the darkest souls of anybody that I have ever met. Take him very seriously. And do your homework and then get your butt out and vote, because we cannot allow James Tellerico to represent the state of Texas and Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Next point. Don't smoke crack.
Got the podcast rejoined.
Oh, okay.
The Rob Carson Show podcast is everywhere. Go to newsmax.com/listen for details.
Yeah, I got to tell you what, Newsmax podcast is growing. We've got them on X at Newsmax Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and soon TikTok. So Newsmax podcasting is growing by leaps and bounds. And Greta Van Sustren's going to be doing a podcast. I'm going to be working on hopefully an extended podcast where we have guests on to not only talk about politics but other stuff. Maybe a comedy. Who the hell knows? But there's a lot of stuff to happen. And the podcasting is I just think a great way to connect with people. It's remarkable that spoken word is so powerful right now. I always talk about Gen Z. Gen Z, they destroyed Gen Z, made them stay away from school and their friends forever, and now the spoken word is bigger than when your grandparents just had a radio in their living room to listen to at night. Spoken word is that big. People listen to spoken word all day. And I think it is a terrific thing. This is James Tallarico just a while back talking about being a vegan.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so another Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today.
So he is further left.
The point is that I think all of us, not just policymakers, but everyone.
Shut up! I'm tired of you. He is further left than probably any Democrat I've ever heard on the national scene. Further left than Kamala Harris. He is bat crap crazy, all right? He says that God is non-binary and that children should be able to transgender. And in Texas, he said being vegan was a good thing, and his campaign was vegan. And now he's trying to fight all of this, trying to cover it up like it never happened. He's never going to get elected, this man. He is such a charlatan. And now they're putting out this. He has vegan talking points. These are on 2 media appearances the last couple days.
I'm an 8th generation Texan. I've been eating barbecue since before.
Yeah, I've been eating barbecue. Sure, buddy.
Ken Paxton's first indictment. I've been eating barbecue since before Ken Paxton's first indictment. If all they have on me is lying about me being a vegan, if all they have is lying about me being a vegan, I feel pretty good about our chances this November. I feel pretty good about our chances this November.
Does anybody believe this guy? I've been eating barbecue. I have competed in the World Series of Barbecue, the in Kansas City. Yeah, I've competed in it. I know barbecue guys. He ain't a barbecue guy. He wouldn't do barbecue but hit him upside the head. I've been barbecuing for 30 years. I'm a grand master of the barbecue. He knows D word for Richard about barbecue, but he probably knows a lot about D word. Here is this guy. No, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play some comedy from Jim Gossett because I'm so fired up about this charlatan lying about everything. But you fly about barbecue, you really stepped in it as far as I'm concerned, because barbecue is soul food and he doesn't have one.
Tallarico.
Jim Gossett.
This nutcase was nominated.
He's a vegan.
And we are elated.
God is non-binary.
Cause he hasn't a prayer.
Boys can become
Says
girls.
there's 6 sexes.
6 sexes.
God, he said, is non-binary.
Whoa.
His views are scary. Yeah, they're really out there.
He's a nutcase. Nutcase.
Tallarico.
He's not going to get elected.
Let's hope he'll be sent home packing. Abortions he's backing.
Oh, yeah, big on abortion, too. He's a
For
Christian.
transgender men.
Yeah, he's super.
Hope Ken Paxton.
Come on, Ken.
We'll beat him bad in November. And we won't remember Tallarico again.
That is just so pretty. Jim Gossett, go to patreon.com, Jim Gossett Comedy. Here's Jim Banks, representative, talking about the Democrat Party. And by the way, he's spot on.
But if you think Graham Plattner's bad, wait until you get to know James Tallarico in Texas. I mean, this guy has said there aren't two sexes.
All of them are.
There are 6 sexes, that we should have abortions for the trans community. He wants to abolish ICE. And then look at Abdul Al-Sayed in Michigan, another lunatic left-wing radical candidate who wants to abolish ICE. You realize how radical these Democrat candidates are all over the country. That's the problem the Democrats have. This isn't my dad or my grandpa's Democrat Party. This is a radical, dangerous, out of touch Democrat Party, and the Democrats in leadership in Washington own it.
Yeah, and top Democrat officials and lawmakers are breaking with Democrat Senate candidate Graham Plattner, and some people say there is an internal civil war in the Democrat Party. Again, something that I have predicted. I said that Democrats who have any common sense whatsoever will want to separate themselves from the National Party and the insanity of their Democrat leadership. I said that the Democrat Party would either have to reform or disappear into the dustbin of history. And how many years have I been saying that? Have you been listening to my show for a while? As long as I have been syndicated, I have said that about this Democrat Party, and I am spot on, and it's happening as we speak. The cities, the states run by these radical leftists, people are leaving those states, and this party is collapsing. They're exposing their flank so we can kick their butts. Mark Meckler, Convention of States, joins us next. Don't go anywhere. Hey guys, it's Carson for Ghost Bed. I am sleeping better than I've ever slept in my entire life. I used to think a mattress was just furniture, but I got a Ghost Bed. Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment. Beds designed for relief and recovery, not looks. Your body should be healing while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. I noticed immediately. My first night on a Ghost Bed, I slept for 10 hours. If you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning, sleeping hot, even reaching for a pain reliever before bed, hoping tonight will be different, that's not aging. That's your mattress talking. Here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't like the difference, just send it back risk-free. Ghost Bed is currently having their Memorial Day sale plus an extra 10% off for my audience. Go to ghostbed.com/Carson and use promo code Carson. Ghostbed.com/Carson. Promo code Carson for the sleep of a lifetime.
analysis of this race is sort of the differences between what a Cornyn or a Paxton would look like here. I'm thinking about the differences between Tallarico and literally every other Texan. Don't know any Texans who believe in 6 genders other than Tallarico. Don't know any Texans who said it's immoral to eat meat other than Tallarico. Don't know any Texans who walk around saying things, God is non-binary. You all are both Texans. Do you know any other Texan who even talks like that? Issues aside, who says these things out loud? When this gets adjudicated, all that money coming in from California and New York, it'll be well spent in Texas.
You know what I'm smelling, Scott?
Fear.
Now, that was Scott Jennings the other night on a CNN panel with some jackass saying, "Oh yeah, you guys are scared of James Tallarico." Are you out of your nut? This guy is in Texas. He's a vegan. He said he had a vegan campaign, and then he said, I've been eating barbecue since Ken Paxton was first indicted. That man has never had I'm not going to say anything about putting a piece of meat in his mouth. I'll turn it over to Mark Meckler, president of Convention of States, who joins us on the Newsmax.
Rob, that's just unfair, really. That was a bad segue.
Dude, I got to tell you, this guy is such a nutbag. And that to think that the Democrat Party believes that this man who said all of those things and worse and worse and worse, that he is everything that was rejected by the voter in 2024 with Kamala Harris, and he's even further left. What chances do you give him in the state of Texas?
Oh, he has no chance in the state of Texas. And I say that as a guy that lives within a stone's throw of Austin, sort of the weird place in Texas. And even most people in Austin wouldn't go the way he's going. I mean, I moved from California to Austin or Austin area, and people are like, oh, Austin, it's so crazy, it's so liberal. And the answer is, yeah, it is. But it's not that kind of liberal. It's not San Francisco liberal. It's not Seattle or Portland liberal. I mean, frankly, even most of the liberals here, they're not insane like they are in those very blue states. And there's a lot of, I hate to say this because I think it's a mistake, but there's a lot of liberal Christians here in Texas. But they're still Christians, and they don't believe in non-binary gods and 57 genders and all this and abortion.
And abortion for transgender. What the hell does that mean? Who honestly,
no.
I mean, standing on a pulpit, and I mentioned this earlier, you're either insane or you're getting talking points from down below. And I'm not kidding about that.
Yeah, I mean, I call him here, he's not James Tallarico, he's James Calafrico. Yeah. And when this stuff comes out and starts getting broadcast all over the place widely, I mean, he's going to be laughed out of the race. Now, the good news is Democrats will raise hundreds of millions of dollars, at least $100 million from around the country, and they will waste it here in Texas, and we welcome their spending here because it means they won't spend it elsewhere.
It is remarkable. I think I love. I say that the left likes to expose its flanks so we can kick their asses. And that's what they do. They expose their flank. They show us who we are or who they are. And they've got some of the most extreme people in Democrat Party history running right now. You've got this guy in Maine, Graham Plattner, who is if you serve in the military and you have PTSD, your first reflex isn't to get an SS tattoo on your chest. As a member of the Nazi SS that guarded the concentration camps. That is so obscene and so sickening. And then you look at all the other things he said, like he likes to pleasure himself in porta potties, and he is demeaned the guy who was the American Sniper was created after he wrote the book and was killed by someone on a shooting range. This man is a very dark and evil human being, and I think Tallarico is too.
Yeah, I agree with that, and this is really interesting because it does portend a shift to the far, far left in the Democrat Party. And the problem with that is they lose on that shift. I don't know if you caught this autopsy that they did on the last election, on the 2024 election, so that came out. And the reason that they didn't want to release it is because it was an attack on their appeal to the far left of the party. The problem is their only enthusiasm is on the far left. And this is something I've been saying for a while. They're finding themselves in a dead-end alley where the only enthusiastic people are the crazy far leftists gathered around a trash can keeping warm. Everybody else is out in the street, and they can't make their way back out of that alley because all the enthusiasm is around that burning garbage can.
I was been saying for years now, Mark, and I think you know, I've said that the Democrat Party will have to reinvent itself or disappear into the dustbin of history. This is, I believe, from Gateway Pundit. Dems cut ties with scandal-plagued Graham Plattner, warn of civil war in the party. Since Maine Governor Janet Mills exited from the race, which, by the way, was the biggest mistake they could have made because it left him with this freakazoid that is completely unlikable, by the way. Some in the Democrat Party warning that it's spurning a civil war between the moderate and left wings of the party. Melissa DeRosa, former New York Mayor Andrew Giuliani's chief of staff, said that Plattner's rise and ensuing questions of his fitness as a candidate are demonstrative of the bubbling conflict within the Democrat Party. And I think it's between rank-and-file Democrats who live in the hinterlands and the Democrat leadership, because the Democrat leadership has been seized by insanity, by leftists, by socialists, and by anti-Semites, and that never ends well, does it?
It doesn't. And look, the leaders of that now are Bernie Sanders. It's AOC, who is going to be the new standard bearer for Bernie Sanders. And these folks, by the way, are out there campaigning with Graham Plattner. They had a primary candidate who was an open Nazi. These guys have now adopted Nazism as a feature of the Democrat Party. And they're literally supporting open Nazis, open anti-Semites, open racists. It's just a freak show on parade, and most Americans don't like it. And when you get into the whole anti-Semite thing, look, that's never ended well anywhere in the world in all of human history.
No.
It is a canary in the coal mine. When you go full-blown anti-Semite, there's absolute tragedy is the only thing that follows.
I want to play a little soundbite from Maureen Galindo, who lost her Democrat runoff on last week after weeks of backlash over this video. Listen.
When I say that I want billionaire Zionists in prison, that does not mean I want Jews in internment camps. So why am I getting a whole bunch of death threats?
Here's the thing, Mark, and you know this as well as I do. The Democrat Party has shifted from anti-Semite to anti-Zionist, and it's the same damned thing.
No, it's exactly the same thing. And by the way, I have a hard time taking that seriously because she sounds like a Valley Girl from where I grew up. Like, when I'm talking about, it's just unbelievable. I can't take it seriously. But that's even more scary, right?
Yes.
Because ideologically, she doesn't even know what she is. She doesn't understand that she's a hardcore anti-Semite. She's repeating talking points that have been fed to her. And frankly, to be blunt, a lot of this is coming from the CCP. This movement is funded by Neville Singham out of China. He's an American expat living in China. He spent hundreds of millions of dollars to influence Americans through NGOs. And they're just trying to blow our country up from inside, and they're doing a pretty darn good job of it.
Yeah, but they're getting a little kick in the rear end because they're going after Singham. They're going after that Hassan Piker. He's in a whole lot of trouble. I think the next thing we're going to see is extradition of Singham, hopefully, and face sedition charges, as well as George Soros, because that's what this is, Mark. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. This is a seditious conspiracy to overthrow America. And they are using soldiers by proxy in all of these NGOs that are doing violent acts, starting, of course, with Occupy Wall Street, moving into the summer of 2020, and now into No Kings and Elon Musk as a Nazi. And so people are going to have to face charges for this because it is a blatant attempt to overthrow our government and take control of our government. It's not going to work, but some people are going to have to go to jail or worse. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Radio 680 WCBM and 99.9 FM in Harford County.
There is this tech tycoon named Neville Roy Singham living in China who has pumped $285 million into nonprofits, including one of the nonprofits that Hassan Piker accompanied called Code Pink. And the big question on that front is whether these nonprofits are acting as agents of malign foreign influence. Those are three words that I hope everyone will learn, because that is what you see on the streets of America then, when you see these protests that talk about fascism. And, Ro Khanna just talked about the Epstein class. Well, that is the propaganda language of that network. And that's that little, flow that's happening now between...
Yeah, it is an attempt to overthrow the American government by the Chinese Communist Party. There's also some connections to Russia as well. And I think they've been caught, and I think that now, and what I've hoped for, which is defunding and cutting all of the financial ties that Neville Roy Singham and George Soros have with these groups, they will scatter like roaches without their funding. It's kind of like Hezbollah without Iran and without the Ayatollah in charge. Mark Meckler, Convention of States. What do you think about that?
Look, I agree, and I'm glad they're hot on his tail. I know this stuff has been reported on for quite a while by Don Solomon over at Just the News, where I'm the CEO, and they've been deep into the Singham network. They exposed it quite a while ago. I think the administration has now picked up on it, and they're hot on the tail. You mentioned Hassan Piker, one of the leading America haters. He's now in trouble for traveling to Cuba and supporting the Cuban government, staying in hotels you're not allowed to stay in. Subpoenas have been issued. He's very unhappy about that, which makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Look at these folks that they live in America and they hate America. They intend to overthrow the American government and destroy our system. They need to be out of our country, or they need to be in prison.
Yeah, Hassan Piker's in a whole lot of trouble. He's a keyboard warrior, a mouthy keyboard warrior. Says he wants the streets bathed in the blood of billionaires and all this. He's a keyboard warrior punk. And I hope he spends the rest of his bloody life in prison or is deported the hell out of the country for good. I got to play the soundbite of the day here for you real quick, Mark. Mark Wayne Mullen was doing the rounds, and they got all these idiots down in New Jersey at this ICE facility. And Mark Wayne Mullen's been asking these ICE agents, because they're being attacked by these morons, these leftist morons, bought and paid for by Neville Singham, by the way, to attack these ICE agents. And Mark Wayne Mullen is saying, you know what, here's the deal. We're going to have to bring our ICE agents out of airports in sanctuary cities to protect these facilities, and that means a whole lot of trouble for these airports. Listen.
Well, Carl, here's the issue we have. We saw in New Jersey this weekend this rioting going on all the times of Memorial Day, which is disgusting in itself. Tells you where the priorities of the Democrat Party is. But we called local law enforcement multiple times, and they refused to respond. Now, at one time, they had our gate blocked. They had the roadblock. Our employees couldn't go in and out. We couldn't bring in detainees. We couldn't transfer detainees. And so what's going to happen, and this is what we're preparing and we're drawing up right now, is we're going to pull out the CBP officers, the Customs and Border Patrol officers, out of the airports so they can help assist to secure the area. If local law enforcement isn't going to help, then we have to provide what assets we have in Cortland. It's the same thing is happening in Portland almost every single day. So listen, we got to prioritize, and when we start prioritizing, we're going to start pulling officers, and we're going to choose to keep our employees safe, and therefore we won't be able to process international flights going to those airports because those officers will be reassigned.
Yeah, just to be, for the viewers, like if you don't have ICE agents, immigrations, and customs people at these airports, they can't process these people, so therefore they can't leave the airport.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dude, there you go. Isn't that fantastic? International passengers who fly into sanctuary cities won't be able to leave the airport. That'll end that crap in a big hurry, and it sounds like Mark Wayne Mullen is going to make that happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. Look, and this is asymmetrical political warfare, and it's hitting these cities where it counts. They think they can do this with no consequence. And make no mistake, it's the mayor's office in these cities that's refusing to allow their police to cooperate. Law enforcement always wants to cooperate. For the most part, they're good people trying to do their job. They want to help other law enforcement. They want to help the ICE facilities. when they're prohibited from doing it, I think it's great to punish the cities at the pain point, which is at their international gates.
Well, in the state of Maryland, where the Wes Moore, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air head, is in charge, he's asked the sheriffs to not cooperate with ICE, and the sheriffs are saying, screw you, buddy. And I think it's great.
Well, yeah, we ought to see this all over the country. Look, Rob, I know you and I are both big law enforcement fans. My mom served in the Los Angeles Police Department and then in a small-town sheriff's office. She retired from there, so I grew up around law enforcement. I know how hard it is on these men and women. I know that they go out every day and they risk their lives. And the incredible disrespect that they're being shown by the Democrat Party, that's already come home to roost, and it's going to continue to come home to roost.
Brother, there is something happening right now. There is an upheaval in this country, and they're done with these municipalities of Democrats and the darkness that they have brought to cities like Los Angeles and states like California and New York and Minnesota and Chicago and Illinois. These Democrats are about to get their butts whooped to hell in November. They say they're going to win these midterms, but I tell you, there is a wave building, and they're going to get swept away. I can feel it, bro.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't want to get overconfident.
I know.
Because I feel like we always got to fight like we're going to lose. But when you look at what's going on from a narrative perspective, the American people, they really despise the Democrat Party right now. The Democrat Party knows this. That's what the autopsy report said. We went too far left. And the reason they tried to bury that report is because they are still going even further left.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't portend well for them. Yeah. And, I just worry, look, the Republicans are very good at stealing defeat from the jaws of victory. So I just hope they don't do that.
No, we won't. We're warriors. You saw what happened with Paxton the other night. We are warriors. We're engaged. Dude, we are battle-hardened veterans of 10 years of a war that's been waged against us. And we are going to win, and we are going to fight through, and we're going to vote like crazy in November. Mark, we got to run, bro. Conventionofstates.com, conventionofstates.com. Mark Meckler on Twitter. Mark, thank you so much, brother. Great to have you on the show. Have a glorious weekend, okay?
God bless you, Rob. Thanks.
All right, let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show. Hold on.
The headlines are saying the economy is good. Manufacturing.
Wouldn't that be funny if they didn't allow international flights when you land in a sanctuary city? You can't leave the airport. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be really fun. It could be awesome. Yay! Cool. Hello, Valentina. How are you? Hello, Wild Bill West. These a-holes at Newark are abusing ICE. Yeah, they are, and I'm done with that bull crap. Ridiculous. Mom had two Shih Tzus, a male and a female. I love shemales. I love shemales. What the hell did that come from? I love Shih Tzus. I think James Tallarico likes shemales. Whatever. Anyway, Valentina, hello. I think it's more, James Tallarico's kind of ilk. Let's move down to Hobbalone. Hello. Battle hardened. I can think of that. Yeah, we are, guys. We've been through 10 years of civil war. We've been called Nazis. We've been called MAGA fascists, enemies of democracy. We've had the federal government shut us down on social media. We've watched our president go through 5 political persecutions, 4 assassination attempts, 2 impeachments, and an attempt to take him off the ballot. And we are battle-hardened warriors. We're done. We're done with this nonsense. We're just done with it. Done with it. All right, let me see what we got here. Yeah. Mark Wayne Mullen. Yeah, I like this. Hold on one second. I had another soundbite here, Nicole. Sorry, we've got to do a show while I'm talking to you guys. Sometimes it's a little distracting, in case you didn't know. ICE protesters. All right, here we go.
Got 3 minutes here, new bump.
Cool. This is a band called Dr. Funk. Turn that up, Brian. So good. Mark Lane Mullen was asked about this ICE facility in New Jersey that the left is being bought and paid for to injure, to harass ICE agents, and the treatment of these supposedly these inmates. They're criminal, illegal aliens, murderers, rapists, all of that crap, and apparently they're on a hunger strike because they don't like the meals they're being served.
Yeah, it shows that this radical left Democrats' priorities when they decide to go out and protest a detention center where we're housing rapists, child predators, murderers, drug dealers, and they choose Memorial Day of all the of all the time to go protest something that they say that they're that it's because they're on a hunger strike when there was only a handful of individuals that was refusing to eat because they want their ethnic group or their ethnic right food. Well, they can go back to the country and get whatever food they want. The fact is, we're giving them the calories they want. This isn't Holiday Inn. We're giving them sanitation. But for the Democrats and the governor, like Governor Sherrill and Senator Kim and Senator Booker, to go out and do something like this of all the days is very frustrating. And we see Antifa signs are literally out there. The local police literally refusing to respond. They barricade it, not allowing our employees to come in and out. ICE has to go out there, remove the barricade, and then you have one of the senators complain because he got splattered with a pepper ball. I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, represent what is Andy Kim is the guy's name. He's playing victim. I'm sorry, he is a rectum, but he's playing victim, and he got pepperballed. And too bad, so sad if you act like an idiot. I think America's done with this temper tantrum, and here's what's going to happen after the midterms. We're going to double down on the deportations because America's done with it. We have been abused. We've been smacked around. We now know that we have millions of illegals in our country who've been stealing and robbing us blind from places like Somalia, the meth lab trailer park of the world. I've got some unbelievable news on more fraud that has been uncovered around the country by illegals, including SNAP benefits by the millions being stolen by Puerto Rico. All right, that's coming up in the last hour of the Rob Carson Show. Don't go anywhere.
680 WCBM News.
It's time to listen to you, the listener. Go to WCBM.com and vote on WCBM's latest poll. It's fun, it's fast, and let us know what you want more of on WCBM.com.
Hold it now. You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
This is hour number 3 of the Rob Carson Show. Welcome to it. We've got a full plate of stuff to get to before the end of the hour. I'm even doing show prep as we speak. I'm doing show prep as we speak, not only for today's show, but for tomorrow's show. Because, I got a hamster on cocaine between my ears. That's just the way it is. I'm looking at this wonderful tweet in front of Union Station, which used to be a crap hole supreme. And out in front of Union Station is Columbus Circle. And they have cleaned it up, and it is so beautiful right now. It is so beautiful. And Donald Trump has got all of the wonderful fountains turned on here in Washington, D.C. The reflecting pool is about to open again. They sealed it. They had bid out the thing it was going to take 3 years and $300 million. And Donald Trump said, screw that. I'll bring in some of the people who do the swimming pools at my glorious facilities around the world, and we'll do it for a couple $1 million, and we'll get it done in a few weeks. And they're getting really close to doing it. And I had the opportunity to take a woman of color to the Lincoln Memorial for the very first time. And we went down to this big faith event a couple weeks ago, downtown D.C., and she said she had never been to the Lincoln Memorial, despite living in the United States since 1992, whatever. And we went up there and we saw the Lincoln Memorial, and she was awestruck by it. And it was an amazing thing to be there. And this city, Washington, D.C., is becoming a beautiful city on a hill again, and I hope maybe if you get the opportunity to come and visit, you will, because it is just beautiful. We don't need to. It's a metaphor for the country. We don't need to live in darkness anymore. We don't need to live in this malaise and darkness of the Democrat Party anymore. We don't need to succumb to these people who are throwing a temper tantrum every few weeks, calling Donald Trump Nazi, calling us white supremacists, attacking ICE officers. We don't need to live this anymore. It's utterly ridiculous, and all we have to do is say no. All we have to do is say no. And I had an example of this a couple weeks ago. I was downtown in the Old Town Alexandria here in Northern Virginia, and there's a beautiful thoroughfare called King Street, and it's beautiful. They got all these buskers down there, and there's a guy who plays xylophone. I always see him and walk up to him and give him a little something, little love, a couple bucks, and then there's another guy who Christian Gonzalez plays the guitar. He's a 23-year-old kid, started playing the guitar at the age of 4, brings an amplifier down there, plays anything you want. If you want Stevie Ray Vaughan, he'll do it. He the other day had an acoustic guitar. He was doing flamenco, picking, all that. Christian Gonzalez, phenomenal. And then these jackweeds, lefties, brought the short bus, I guess, down there. Not that was an insult to kids who ride short. But anyway, these lefties brought a couple of these punk college kids down there, and they were holding these idiot signs saying boots out of Iran or something like that, or hands off Iran, because they would rather have the Ayatollah in charge than freedom for the Iranian people, because it would happen under Donald Trump's watch, you see. And so they're shrieking out loud through their bullhorns and all of this in the middle of us just trying to enjoy our time there. So I got in their faces. And I walked up to them and I said, you should be ashamed of yourselves, to the adults. There were 2 guys in their 40s there probably. I said, did you bring these children down here? One of the kids had a ring pop, like I used to buy my daughter when she was elementary school. And they had these signs. And I said, you get the hell out of here. You have no right to be here. You don't have a license to be here. You're not entertaining here. And you know what? I got applauded, I got high-fived, and they've never been back. And you know what I did after that? I went home and I ordered 2 bullhorns. And when I see them down there again, I'm going to bring a bullhorn with me. Whenever I've driven by these idiots, I play YMCA as loud as I can on my 5,000-watt sound system in my Bronco, because I'm just done with the nonsense. You don't have to live in darkness anymore. Have you noticed they're trying to make our 250th, the birthday of our country, into a downer? No media is celebrating the 250th anniversary. No Democrat is celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. But guess what? The city is beautiful. Mount Rushmore is going to have fireworks. They're bringing a Grand Prix race here in August. And June 14th, Flag Day, Donald Trump, and my daughter's birthday. She's not crazy about that. Happening an MMA fight on the White House grounds. We are overwhelming the left with joy and patriotism and faith. We are overwhelming them. We're driving the forces of evil back into hell. We are. We are a force for good in the world. We were the first country to say our rights come from God, not from man, and look what we did with it. Look what we did with it. Blue jeans, rock and roll, the internal combustion engine, electricity, the light bulb, television. Marconi, I think he was Italian. I don't know if he was Italian-American. He did radio. The smartphone. I can go on and on. Jazz, country music, bluegrass, hip-hop. All of it. All of it. The world lived in the dark ages. They were using the streets as a latrine in London and Paris for 1,000 years. We had the same resources, the same kind of people, because they all came over here after the revolution. And look what we did. Look what we did. If we would have left it up to London and Paris, we'd still be living with outdoor latrines. Freedom, baby. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Jonathan Turley had something to say about the what they call the Jacobins. And history is repeating itself with the left. I have been quoting for years Voltaire, who said, those who are made to believe absurdities will commit atrocities. And this happened with the Democrat Party and transgenderizing children. If you are made to believe that a child can become the opposite gender, then you will commit the atrocity of puberty blockers and mutilative surgery. That's just evil. It is. It is. It is. I've got friends who live in Pittsburgh. They have a friend whose daughter went through transgender surgery at 17. She's 21 now, and she pees out of 2 places. She pees out of 2 places. Yeah, that's monstrous. Jonathan Turley.
The ability of every mortal to become a monster. We've seen it. And we saw it in the French Revolution. If you read Robespierre's early writings, you would think he was an ACLU lawyer.
Yeah.
He would talk about due process and all of these fundamental rights. Within a couple of years, he would be saying terror is virtue because it corrupted them all. And I think that in the end, what you see with the new Jacobins, so many American scholars are calling to scrap the Constitution, is you're hearing the same voice of Rousseau, this idea that the general will take care of it. You know, I was speaking in Europe, and I had a EU member ask me, he said, you know, your book is very confident about the U.S. surviving this century, but I was a little uncertain about whether you thought the EU would survive. And I said, I'm very surprising, because I thought I made clear in the book, I don't think you will survive, and I think you'll fail in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, but it looks like we may have pulled the iron out of the fire. We're still in the thick of battle. Don't get me wrong. I told you this. We're in the battle of good and evil. And this, I don't know if this is the big biblical one, but it's real close. It's real close. It is. And one of the, you know, like the Democrat Party right now, National Democrat Party, they're saying Graham Plattner is fine. He's got a Waffen-SS tattoo on his chest for years. He's said some of the worst things you could possibly make. He's a communist. He's as dark as a human being could be. And yet people like this Seth Moulton, who is just, I mean, honestly, just a fool, is absolutely cool with it. You know why? Because he thinks he can win. I don't believe that Graham Plattner is going to win.
One of your Democratic colleagues from Massachusetts, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, pushed back on criticism this week after I had a conversation with him, and he argued that Graham Plattner, the Senate candidate in Maine, is personally disqualified from running, given his controversial past statements, his Nazi tattoo, which he's since covered up. You have not endorsed Plattner. Do you plan to? What are your thoughts on the criticism that your colleague is facing?
I mean, look, but my organization, Serve America, supports veterans, but we focus on the House of Representatives, not the Senate. Look, Graham clearly made a mistake, and I've been on CNN saying that what I appreciated about him is that he owned that mistake. He took responsibility for it, and I don't...
He had a Nazi tattoo on his chest for 20 years. Remember when Democrats would be like, we're more pro-abortion, and Republicans were more pro-life, and that was it? Now you've got a party that is pro-boys becoming girls and competing in girls' sports, pro-abortion until birth, pro-open border. I mean, it's nuts. It's just insane. Here is a Democrat Representative Jake Auchincloss saying that the tattoo, just the tattoo alone, is enough to disqualify Graham Plattner.
So no weighing in on Graham Plattner?
I've been clear about Graham Plattner. I find that tattoo and his commentary about it to be personally disqualifying. I hope Maine voters agree with me. I think there would be a mistake for the Democratic Party to think that Graham Plattner's brand of the Democratic Party is what wins us durable majorities throughout this country.
There you go. Now, there's a Democrat I can work with. That's what I'm saying. When 80% of us believe the country's headed in the wrong direction, 80% of us can come together. That's somebody can work with. I played this yesterday, and I took some highlights from Graham Plattner's speech in Maine last week. He has no sense of humor. He has no connection with the audience. He's very dystopian and dark, and I wanted to exemplify this, so I put apocalyptic music behind it. And I'm listen, I'm doing it for dramatic effect, but when you hear it, it's terrifying. So I'm going to go ahead and play it again right now.
No one is coming to save us. We need one thing, something the man speaking after me has been fighting for 60 years. We need a political revolution. They took so much, they began to think that we didn't exist at all.
They? Who are they?
But they don't know Maine. They don't know the power that we have here, and we are taking back what is ours.
What is
our tax dollars can build schools and hospitals in America.
You've been lying about it
instead of bombs to drop on them in Gaza and Iran. We can take back the wealth that belongs to us.
What are you talking about?
That has been stolen by corrupt politicians and the corporations that bought them.
Yeah, the corrupt politicians are Democrats, and the fraud is in the trillions. I'll explain that on the other side of the break. But I think you get my point. It's pretty obvious. It's right there in the open for us to see. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show.
WCBM app from Talk Radio 680 WCBM and 99.9 FM in Harford County.
Big rejoin.
Dig it.
Words of advice to maybe help you a little bit on your way. First, most important, never ever give up. Never give up. They asked me, how do you be successful, sir? Starts with never give up. I've learned a lot about life, but the one thing I've really learned is that perseverance, never quitting, never giving up is a big deal. No matter how terrible the storm, no matter how difficult the mission, never surrender.
Amen. 100%. Rage Against the Machine. Crank it up. Telling you, man. That means so much to me because I was having a discussion with the other night with, I had a date, believe it or not. I know, crazy, right? A wonderful, wonderful person, by the way. And we were talking about the last 10 years of my life because generally when you turn 50, things are kind of smoothing out a little bit. You got all that. That's when I got hit in the face. And I went from drinking myself to death, selling cars, to nationally syndicated talk show host, number 10 political commentary podcast in America, right behind Victor Davis Hanson. And I had to claw my way every bit of it. I learned how to broadcast on Facebook from the desktop before they allowed it to happen. I figured it out. I had 2 cameras 10 years ago. And I moved to Washington, D.C. with my stuff in a U-Haul and built this studio. And if you haven't seen it, look at my social media because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I built this studio, my sweat and my blood and my money. And I said, I've got to make a noise that no one can ignore. And that's what we've done. And guess what? We're not even starting. We're just started. If you are struggling in your life, listen to that man's words. Listen to that man's words because they tried to kill him 4 times. They tried to put him in prison for life 5 times. They tried to take his fortune. They tried to take him off the ballot. They impeached him twice and they raided his home with long guns. Never give up. Never give up. There you go. All right. Kelly Loeffler is the Small Business Administration Secretary, and here's what she found out with COVID money. COVID money. I told you what they did was they increased the size of the government massively and then raided the Treasury.
I'll tell you the other thing about fraud. Small businesses are particularly hurt by the fraud because they're some of our biggest taxpayers in the country. And they show up every day. They work hard to provide for their employees, to build their businesses. They're doing it the honest way. And they see fraudsters taking from the American people. It's taxpayer money. And so you think about, at the SBA, we found $200 billion in
$200 billion
fraudulent PPP loans that the Biden administration tried to hide and forgive and sweep under the rug. We've turned the first 22.
They gave $200 billion to their cronies, their friends. They gave $200 billion, and then they forgave the loans. Guess what the next thing's going to be to drop? You know, all of those loans for student loans that Joe Biden wanted to forgive? In places like California, student loan fraud is massive. And I'll bet it's all Democrats filing for free student loans and then Joe Biden forgiving them. My son owes $60,000. No relief at all.
$2 billion of that over to Treasury for collections and to DOJ for prosecution. Our Inspector General is already announcing that people are going to jail. There are jail sentences now being served. We've announced that 140,000 people have been barred from ever getting SBA loans again, defrauding the government for about $9 billion. So we are going to continue our work under the great leadership of Vice President Vance and appreciate the partnership because it's really accelerated our ability to get the
$200 billion in PPP loans while your business went out of business during COVID. My God. I told you we were going to discover the American government was as corrupt as the former Soviet Union, but with a $7 trillion budget. Unbelievable. And then there's what they did right at the very end of the Biden administration when Pudding for Brains was sitting there, going to bed at 4 p.m. and making a poopy in his pants. They tried to give Stacey Abrams, NGO, $2 billion. They were going to make somebody into a billionaire for doing nothing but being corrupt. Here is the president yesterday with Lee Zeldin.
Stacey Abrams was given $2 billion.
I want her to go to jail.
For an account that had $103 in it, an environmental fraud, I guess. And she had $103 in this newly opened account. And before leaving business, they put $2 billion into the account. And they had no reason for existence. They were unable to say what they did with it.
There has never been anywhere near this kind of corruption in world history. And your Democrat Party did that the last 6 years.
$1 billion. Lee, do you want to just mention something about that?
Ed Longer.
Thanks to your leadership, Mr. President, that was canceled. And they no longer have access to that $2 billion.
They fought like hell.
Yeah, they wanted it.
They wanted that money. Go ahead.
In fact, it was over $29 billion that it's now been canceled at EPA. You told us to make it a priority. Now this happened as soon as you came in. After the election, before your inauguration, they were caught on video saying that they were rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before you're swearing in because they were afraid that once you were sworn in, you were going to stop it. Well, that part, they were right.
We did. Yeah, we did. Great job.
And we're happy to.
This is what despots do. This
is
is what despots do when they're deposed. They clean out the treasury and then they flee to another country. That's what the Democrat Party did at the end of Joe Biden's tenure. They wanted to take advantage of everything they could because they had pudding for brains in the White House, although I'm sure he would have been completely cool with it because he got $31 million from the Communist Chinese Party into 27 LLCs and 9 family members. He was the most corrupt president in American history, no doubt about it. But that's what they did. They raided our treasury, they looted it for 4 years, and then as they were leaving, like despots, they emptied the treasury, they looted it and gave it to their friends, and then fled. And people are going to have to be held accountable for it. On the other side of the break, a CIA officer with top secret clearance did it the old-fashioned way. He just took it. Okay? I almost kind of admire the guy's moxie, although he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. It's probably better than, I don't know, coming in and opening a Leering Center, but you still got to go to jail. Let's cover that coming up next. This is The Rob Carson Show. Hey guys, it's Carson for Ghost Bed. I am sleeping better than I've ever slept in my entire life. I used to think a mattress was just furniture, but I got a Ghost Bed. Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment. Beds designed for relief and recovery, not looks. Your body should be healing while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. I noticed immediately. My first night on a Ghost Bed, I slept for 10 hours. If you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning, sleeping hot, even reaching for a pain reliever before bed, hoping tonight will be different, that's not aging. That's your mattress talking. Here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't like the difference, just send it back risk-free. Ghost Bed is currently having their Memorial Day sale plus an extra 10% off for my audience. Go to ghostbed.com/Carson and use promo code Carson. Ghostbed.com/Carson. Promo code Carson for the sleep of a lifetime.
These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. We're just talking about one person. He got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians. Racist. Crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on. But boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women, too.
You know, we might have to do a viewing party when we watch Ilhan Omar denaturalized and deported. Bye. He's been kind of quiet lately. She's not talking so bad about America anymore right now, is she? She's got to be quiet. Used to say that America was terrible and all that, and she and our buddies were robbing us blind. Here's Dr. Oz, by the way. A lot of fraud, and Russia and China are involved.
Well, we got Russian government involvement, we believe, in Los Angeles. We got the Chinese government involved in a big fraud ring in New York. And of course, the Cuban connection that you mentioned was pointed out to me by the former mayor of Miami, Francis.
Kind of weird how this is allowed to happen when Joe Biden was getting millions of dollars to his family from the Chinese Communist Party. And Hillary Clinton got $150 million plus from Russian oligarchs, shareholders in Uranium One after the Uranium One deal. It kind of makes you wonder if the Democrat Party is involved in this.
Suarez, who pointed out that we've got twice as many durable medical equipment suppliers. They sell wheelchairs and canes, twice as many as there are McDonald's in South Florida. And the owners all seem to be Cuban, and they flee back to Cuba with the money when we come after them. So this is primarily about allowing the American people to have integrity within their healthcare.
While you worked 3 jobs, while you drove a 2006 Toyota Sienna with 229,000 miles. That's me! I had to do that. Yeah, while we did that, these people got rich on us.
System. And again, with Medicare, Medicaid, there's a handshake agreement we have, especially when we start offering services that are designed to protect you because your family is not doing them for you. I'll give you one concrete example. New York State, where you are right now, the #1 job in the entire state is not retail, it's not folks working in shops, it's personal care services. Why? It's because it's a jobs program for the state. Almost 500,000 people in that state are being paid to carry groceries upstairs for their parents or for their neighbor. Again, these are jobs your family would do for you. That creates jobs in a state that's losing jobs. That generates tax revenue, but it comes from the federal government.
There you go. So all of these people moving out of New York because of what a crappy place it is to live because of Democrats, all of these people moving out of Los Angeles, all these people moving out of California, all these people moving out of Illinois, what do they replace them with? They pay people massive amounts of money for nonsense like this. It was in Ohio, Somalians, in Minnesota, Somalians. We got Russians involved in hospice care, all of this. We have been robbed blind, and Stephen Miller said the other day, if we eliminated the fraud, we would balance the federal budget. And you know how much money individually, from you and I have paid for this. You and I have paid for this. When you look at the extreme amount of money they take out of your check, every damned paycheck, or when you pay quarterly, that goes to the federal government, a very large portion of that is fraud, making people billionaires and millionaires while you work your ass off to the grave. I swear. Muckraker is a guy on Twitter, decided to investigate, kind of like a Nick Shirley, Oh, by the way, they passed that Nick Shirley Act in California where independent journalists can be sued by Leering centers for exposing their fraud. It's not going to stand. Massive EBT and charity fraud exposed. Immigrants openly buying food with food stamps, collecting it from charities, then shipping it overseas for profit.
So right now we're in one of many stores in the Dominican Republic that are stocked with food paid for in the United States with food stamps, sent here on a boat in a blue barrel, put in these little bodega stores, sold here. And it's all being paid for by you, the American taxpayer. These are 50-pound bags of rice that are going to get shipped back to Santo Domingo.
I'm seeing these big giant refrigerator boxes and 55-gallon barrel drums being filled up with food. There's just so much fraud going on in this one city. Yeah. It's not even funny.
Food stamps were created to help low-income American households put groceries on the table at home.
The program cost American taxpayers over $100 billion in 2025 alone. But in cities like Lawrence, Massachusetts, a chunk of that money isn't feeding Americans at all. Food bought with your tax dollars at local markets that accept EBT, along with groceries picked up for free from food bank lines, gets loaded into barrels, driven to shipping companies, and sent overseas to the Dominican Republic, where it gets sold for profit in local markets. SNAP rules require that food stay in the household that bought it, but this fraud has been going on for years, and nobody seems to be talking about it.
And there are bodegas in Minneapolis owned by Somalis who have taken millions of dollars in food stamp fraud meant to feed hungry people. You had the Feeding Our Future, $250 million. The head of that organization is going to spend 41 years in jail. Ilhan Omar had her re-election campaign party at a restaurant that was supposedly providing these meals fraudulently. $9 million is what they got. $9 million is what they got. Oh, my Lord. Here's a little bit more.
We spent weeks tracing the pipeline, from corner stores swiping EBT cards to vendors in Santo Domingo, who told us exactly where their inventory comes from. We talked to a delivery driver in Lawrence, Massachusetts, who's been dropping off packages on these streets for over a decade and has been witnessing this fraud the entire time.
So I'm John, and I've been working in this town of Lawrence, Massachusetts for a little over 11 years. I deliver products all day long, 6 days a week. I have about 35 stops a day where I interact with these people every day.
And when you say these people, we're talking Dominicans specifically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now it's the Dominicans.
I've been witnessing the Dominican residents going to food bank lines and collecting non-perishable goods and then packing it in barrels and in boxes, and then they ship it back to the Dominican Republic.
So how do you know for sure that the people are buying this food that they're shipping back with the food stamps or, whatever other government assistance?
Some of them have openly told me and my wife that that's what they're doing. And then the other way is the math. The bag of rice that they buy here costs $30 for the 50-pound bag of rice, okay? That same bag of rice in the Dominican Republic costs $35. The only way you could justify that is if you got the rice for free.
There you go. Coming up, I got the story about this CIA agent. He stole 300 gold bars worth $40 million. And he was able to get away with it with the most ridiculous excuse, and the CIA said, okay, we'll give it to you. Derp, 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 derp. I wouldn't recommend getting your gold that way. What I would do is recommend you texting my name, Rob, to 989898 for Birch Gold. You will not go to jail for doing this. All of this fraud, all of this nonsense has caused the American currency to be worth crap. You can't buy anything. My son's buying a car now. I'm helping him buy a car. And it is just remarkable how much. When I sold cars, it was literally 6 years ago. $55,000 is the new $35,000. Yeah, a pickup truck that cost $55,000 6 years ago now costs $85,000. That's how much your money is worth now. Gold, however, can't be printed. Gold is a limited resource, a commodity. So I would recommend you diversify your portfolio into gold with Birch Gold. Text my name, Rob, to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. If you just have savings, your money is declining. You are losing money. You think, I got a 0.5% interest a year. No, the dollar is going boom. Text my name, Rob, to 9898 for Birch Gold. Again, text Rob to 989898. Own some gold from Birch Gold. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show.
WCBM and 99.9 FM in Harford County.
Here's a headline for you. Judge clears Trump's voter citizenship checks and mail-in voting crackdown, slapping down Democrats. This is just glorious, man. This is just amazing. Federal judge on Thursday cleared the way for President Trump to implement his executive order tightening mail-in voting and slapping down Democrats' arguments for now that federal efforts to police voter rolls with citizen checks was illegal. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols, a Trump-appointed jurist, ruled that Democrats failed to show they have standing at present to challenge the order or have suffered any harm that would warrant a preliminary injunction. Given that the executive order does not command plaintiffs to do anything, and then no agency has yet acted pursuant to the order in that way that could harm plaintiffs, they have not suffered any harm at present. Nichols rejected several of the Democrat arguments that Trump's executive order would disenfranchise millions of voters. Yeah, illegal voters. Hell yeah. Including that created state-by-state citizenship lists to check voter rolls would somehow be harmful or even if they were inaccurate. Quote, it remains speculative whether the state citizenship lists, if and when they are initially compiled, will contain inaccuracies. Even if they contain initial inaccuracies, the executive order requires the adoption of procedures that will allow individuals to access and, if necessary, update or correct their information on lists. Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, in Maryland, they sent out 565,000 ballots incorrectly. And now they've got to scrap all of those ballots, and they're trying to make it like it was a printer error. You don't print 565,000 ballots, send them to addressees, put the postage on them. That's not a printer error. That's people involved in voter fraud, and they're going to be up the Democrat Party and Westmore's rear end with a microscope. Former senior CIA official with top secret clearance arrested after FBI raid home and seized 300 gold bars. Who does this guy think he is? Bob Menendez? $40 million plus $2 million in cash and 35 luxury watches. Here's a story from MS Now.
Former CIA senior officer is accused of secretly stashing 300 gold bars in his house that he brushed off as work-related expenses.
Yeah, work-related. It's $40 million in work-related expenses. We went to, we had lunch every day for 4,000 years.
According to court documents and two people familiar with his employment history. Julia Ainsley is joining us now at this exclusive reporting.
Yeah.
Sorry, Julia. What?
Yeah.
I know. Hallie, when I first heard this tip, I didn't think it was real. Yeah. And then the court documents spelled out that there was a man who was an employee of a government agency that was found with $40 million worth of gold bars in his home.
What does he think? He has a Leering Center or something?
Wondering how many gold bars that is? The court document says it's about 308. What my team here at NBC News, Dan DeLuce and Gary Grumbach and I found is that man was not just an employee of any agency. He was a high-level official with top secret clearance in the CIA.
In the CIA. The officer, identified as David Rush, who held a management position at the agency, now faces charges of criminal theft of public money. According to NBC, Rush allegedly used his position to request large amounts of gold and foreign currency, claiming they were for work-related expenses. What the hell is wrong with our CIA? Only to allegedly divert and stash them at his Fairfax County residence. On May 18th, federal agents searched the home and walked out with a massive gold hoard. Investigators had found only a portion of the funds in a storage space near his office. Rush had requested the assets between November and March. Yeah, I need $40 million worth of gold. It's just work-related expenses. Okay, I can't tell you. The CIA's own internal audit couldn't account for the gold or significant foreign currency, prompting CIA Director John Ratcliffe to refer the matter to the FBI for criminal investigation. The case raises questions about the effectiveness of the federal government's security vetting. Well, no bleep, Sherlock! Which is supposed to ensure intelligence officers or other government employees don't betray the public trust or spy for foreign countries. Wow. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency, which falls under the authority of the Officer of the Director of National Intelligence, says that oversees the background check program known as continuous vetting. When the program flags a potential problem or anomaly in an employee's records, officials investigate. Yeah, at what point? Was it the $10 million in gold that made you go, what the hell? Was it the $15 million in gold? Is that it? Maybe 20, 25, 30, $35 billion in gold, 40 million. Yeah, 40 billion is a little suspicious. We better look into this one. Let's send some officers over to his place and see what's going on. He asked for 40 friggin' million dollars in gold bars. I told you, if we were going to survive another 250 years, it would require a baptism by fire. The fire has been lit. And now we're smoking these sons of guns out. That's what's happening. Wow. Just wow. Let's take a break and come back. This is the Rob Carson Show. A little early. Got out a little early.
Finding great candidates.
How much have you suffered in the last decade? How many taxes have you paid in the last decade? And these people just partied like it's 1999. 4 decades. I swear. It's just so freaking frustrating. Because I lost everything. I lost my house here in D.C. I moved to Kansas City. Made a fraction of the money that I used to make. Got fired 2 years into a 3-year deal. Was out of work for a year and a half. Had to go on food stamps. And we had people taking $1 million worth of food stamps. I could have just gotten $1 million worth of food stamps and sold all the groceries to a Puerto Rican bodega. What the hell was I thinking? I could have opened a Leering Center. I didn't have to go through all that. There was a point in my life I thought I was going to die under a bridge. I really did, like 6 years ago. I was convinced I was going to die under a bridge. And they opened Leering Centers. And they drove Bentleys. Oh, my God. Oh, it's just amazing. Hi, Gary 7. What's going on? Hello, all you guys watching on Facebook, all you guys on the Rumbly Roos and you YouTubers, and the ex-viewers. Thanks for watching me today, guys. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. Had a lot of good stuff today, didn't we? My Lord in heaven. All right, I gotta talk here real quick. This is funny. All right, I gotta talk. Hello, Lisa Fiel. Good to see you over on Twitter. Hello, all you guys. All right, here we go.
Got 4.5 here.
Come on, feet. Start moving. Got to take me there.
Come on. So this weekend, I'm very excited. We have, a number of radio stations that carry the show around the country, and I appreciate all of them. Thank you, Benny Media Studio stations in New Hampshire, and KSCO in Santa Cruz, and KBQ in Albuquerque, and all you guys up at Fargo, all over the country. And this great little station in Rehoboth, it is in the Delmarva area is what they call it, in Delaware. WGMD has invited me up this weekend. They're doing a big first responders event up there, and I'm going to get arrested. And they're going to put me in a public jail, all right? And here are some of the charges. Reckless use of common sense on public airwaves. Possession of hot takes without a permit. Disturbing the peace with early morning commentary and inciting callers to think. These are the charges that I'm going to be. So I'm going up to Rehoboth, the WGMD, and I'm going to get up there Saturday morning. We're doing an appearance starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're gonna put me in a jail, in a jail, and we're going to ask for people to donate to pay my bail. All right. And what's going to happen is we're going to try and raise $10,000. It's going to first responders there. It's going to first responders there. And for $2,500, they're going to give me like a blanket. For $2,500, Rob gets a blanket in holding. $5,000 first responders agrees to supervise his release paperwork. $7,500 he's allowed to a monitored phone call. I don't even know who they call. I'm not talking to my wife anymore. $10,000 first responders sign off on my release. I was at the grocery store parking lot the other day, and a ambulance pulled up, and a young woman got out with the walkie-talkie and everything on, and the handle with the on the show, whatever. She's a first responder. And I was thinking about that. We didn't really understand how valuable first responders are, or really appreciate them until the sacrifice 25 years ago on 9/11, and then it became real. And I was thinking about this young woman at the grocery store, getting out of the ambulance, and what I go through on my daily basis, what she goes through on her daily basis in all of her maybe 30 years, that the things that she has seen, and she arrives on accident scenes and scenes of terrific violence or mayhem or injury, and she doesn't get paid anything for it. And that we have people who do this is amazing. That we have people who probably, you think about PTSD from people coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. How about the people who roll up on an accident scene and see people dead or horrifically injured in a car? Think about the lives that woman at the grocery store has probably saved. And what have I done in my life? I talk on the radio for a living. So this weekend, we're doing this massive event for first responders. I think last year they had 10,000 people there. And I'm going to be arrested. Go to WGMD.com, WGMD.com. That's the station in Rehoboth. By the way, Mark Giuliani, the guy who gives me this space in Washington, D.C., the reason why I'm able to be here in Washington, D.C. is this guy named Mark Giuliani, who is a brilliant and wonderful man. And Walt Palmer, who just happens to be the program director at this great radio station. These people do remote broadcasts like they're NFL Super Bowl broadcasts. They can teach big leaguers in the major markets how to do it. But we're going to raise $10,000 this weekend. So I want you to come out and see me, listen to WGMD for details. And even if you're not here, even if you're somewhere else in the country, check out WGMD.com. We're going to raise $10,000 frickin' dollars, and I'm going to sit in jail until then. I should do the opposite. $10,000, they'll throw me in jail. I think they'd raise the money faster. Tomorrow, by the grace of God, is Friday. Thank you for listening. God bless you, America's founding Donald Trump, our glorious president, our soldiers and first responders. Until tomorrow, do not catch the stupid. I'll see you then.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.